Can I start by just getting your reaction to Thomas Tuchel's exit from Chelsea and your thoughts also on Graham Potter, who is now set to take over at the club?
Well, I think in terms of Thomas, it's obviously he's had a really successful 18 months there, and only probably 8-9 months ago they were the world's best team. So, but football moves and can move quickly, and it's I obviously not privy to what goes on behind the scenes, but yeah, no, it's disappointing, and like I always say, for any manager in any job at any level, it's always disappointing when they lose the job. But he'll go away, and I'm sure he'll get a very good job.
And do you think it was an unfair move by the club to get rid of Thomas Tuchel?
Well, that's nothing to do with me.
And on Graham Potter, it's a big move from him, from moving from Brighton to Chelsea. You did something similar. We went from Swansea to Liverpool yourself. What do you think to his move? Obviously, you played his side last weekend, of course, as well.
Yeah, well, listen, it's not totally confirmed, but it looks like that's the next step for Graham, and I think it is that next step for him going into that club where there's a different pressure. He's done fantastic at Brighton, a club that's has really grown and developed since coming into the Premier League, and really strategically well run behind the scene, and he's been able to then on the field bring the players in and do some great work with them. So for him, I think it's that next step, and if that comes off, that'll be a fantastic move for him going into a great club and with so many good players. And
moving on to what you guys are obviously up to this weekend, playing Aston Villa. Is that a perfect opportunity for your team to bounce back? They're a side that have struggled themselves a little bit so far. They've only got one win this season at home at the King Power. Is that a really great opportunity for your team to get your first win potentially?
Yeah. It's every game is that opportunity. I think for us, it's we've had a good week. It was a tough weekend last weekend. But for us, we come away and analyse the game, and for us, it's really just about cutting out the mistakes. We've started well in every game. Every game we've played this season, the start has been good. So it tells you that our plan leading through to the games and the actual motivation of the players is there. So it's just cutting out those mistakes and just dealing a little bit better with adversity whilst we're in the game. And but I've got no doubts the results will come, and like I say, we hope that can be the first win at the weekend.
And looking forward to coming up against one of your former players, of course, Gerrard as well. What do you think to the job that he's done so far at Villa?
Yeah, listen, Stephen's gone in there, and there's obviously a lot of change going on behind the scenes, coming in sort of partway through last season. But no, Stephen will do a very good job there. It's just time. You just need time to work, get everything in place how you want it to be, and like I say, I'm pretty sure he'll progress really well with Aston Villa.
Can I ask you about the feeling in the dressing room, and someone that left you at the end of the season in Kasper Schmeichel? He was a huge presence at the football club and in the dressing room. Obviously, Johnny Evans is wearing the armband now. But do you feel like there are more players within your team that need to step up in terms of leadership?
Well, it's a collective. It's not about one player. I think when you win a game or lose a game, it's the collective. So we feel as if we've had enough really good moments in the season so far. We should have won games that we haven't, and we should have had better results. And but I see the players every day, and I can measure their feeling and their togetherness and their spirit, and they are very much that. But we need to then transfer that for a consistent period over the games, and look to get the results consistently.
Has someone like Kasper been a loss to the dressing room, though, in that sense? And someone like him, if he had been around, would he have made a big difference to your team, do you think, if he'd been around this season?
Well, it's hypothetical. He's not here. He's moved on. So it's a question that I can't answer.
And just finally from me, any injuries, any players that are missing ahead of the game this weekend?
No, there's nothing new. Cheers, thank you.
Cheers. We'll get to the Premier League.
Yeah, good. Thanks. Thank you.
The two changes you made for Brighton in Patson Daka and Kelechi Iheanacho, both obviously scored in that game. How much of a boost is that for them and for you? Because you need them to be firing to get out of this run, don't you?
Well, listen, for me, it's the other side. I think in terms of goals, we've been fine in terms of goals scored. We just need to collectively be defensively better. So thinking scoring goals, I'm not overly concerned with. It's more on the defensive side.
And that defensive side, is it just a case of making sure the players are a bit more ruthless in the defending and making sure that those mistakes that did happen at Brighton don't happen going forward?
Yeah, it's key. Like I said, we've made really good starts in games, and like we did last weekend, but then we make mistakes, and all of a sudden we're chasing the game. And when your confidence isn't at its highest, then that of course can have an effect. But our job is to keep reinforcing the qualities of the players, getting back to the basics of our game, and that's what we aim to do for the weekend.
And it's obvious when you're on a run like this that confidence and belief levels, and we've spoken about it before, can drop. Have you found that those levels are still at the points where you need them to be? And is there a sort of collective responsibility with what's happened to get it right?
Yeah, but it's something that we work on every single day, and the players have been brilliant in that aspect. We certainly haven't been down. Of course, when you lose a game, and it's obviously challenging, and especially this early season run that we've been on. But we believe that if we can get that consistency into a game, we have to continue to work hard. There's no magic formula in football. You got to take your medicine, and at this moment in time, that's what we're doing, and work hard on the training field, and build those relationships again and that confidence again. And I'm pretty sure then that our next win will be just around the corner, and then that'll obviously be a big relief, and then we can hopefully move on consistently from there.
And I presume at this point it could be anything, couldn't it? Really, a lucky bounce, goal going off somebody's backside, for want of a better phrase. If you get that break and get that first win, you're confident that the others will follow going forward.
Yeah, but also the other way as well, because like I said, it's scoring goals isn't the problem. It's making sure that we have that devilment and that organisation and that collective responsibility to not concede. And if one player isn't quite doing it, then you will suffer. So that's more important in terms of the goals. I think will be there.
Brilliant. Good luck for the weekend.
Thank you. Thanks.
I'm holding both. You're holding both. Oh, okay. Hey, Brendan. Hope you're well. With the financial issues that you've spoken about over the last few weeks, the lack of refresh and how you've sounded over the last few weeks, you have sounded pretty fed up at times, and how the results have gone so far. You have, sorry. What keeps you going? Where do you get your strength from?
Well, it was very easy. I think first and foremost, Jason, I love being here. I think my record here is in concrete in terms of what we've done and what our performances have been, but also of late it's not been to the level. So my career has been built on a resilience, and it's certainly something that you need in this industry. But it's how I've arrived at where I have, because I was not a big player. I had to coach, I had to work with players, and I had to manage players, and it's not all been plain sailing in my career. So the strength is very easy to come by. It's obviously difficult when you're not getting the results, but it provides you with the motivation going forward to make it right. And also when I come into here, I come into the staff, not normally what you find when results go against you, and maybe as a manager, and I've been at a number of clubs now, there can be a level of betrayal that kicks in and against you as a manager. But I've never ever felt that here at all. All the staff, players, everyone have been absolutely brilliant in their support, and we just keep working hard and look to get back to a consistent level. So that's what gives me the strength and the determination.
You used the word betrayal there. It's quite a strong word. What do you mean by that? Care to elaborate?
Yeah, well, normally what happens at clubs when and I'm sure you'll have seen it or felt it yourself at clubs, if it's not going well for the manager, then you can get lots of side conversations that take place. But I've never felt that at all. I think we're all on one page. We all here at this club, we've all celebrated for a few years, done really well, worked well, and now when it's not going so well, then we're still very much together.
It's not a flippant question, this one. I've thought about it. Have you ever considered walking away at all then this summer?
No.
What's been the message then from maybe the hierarchy over the last few weeks? Obviously 5 defeats in a row. It's not great in anyone's book. What's the message been from the chief executive, the owner of the football club?
Been very supportive. Listen, I'm not daft. I understand football, and it's not been a great start at all. But I think their support probably shows you the level of work that we've done here, and obviously the work that was going on behind the scenes, and also an appreciation of probably the difficulty that where we've been over the course of the summer. So, but like I say, it's my responsibility to improve the results. There's no question about that, and I've had nothing but support from within in order to help us get that.
You mentioned it there about taking responsibility. You mentioned it last week after the defeat against Brighton. Now, you have criticised one or two players, you've criticised the fans, and you have criticised the club maybe, and the owners for not putting in the money that you wanted to refresh. What exactly do you take responsibility for at the moment with the run of form? Which areas are Brendan Rodgers' issues and problems?
Everything. I think as a manager, you take the responsibility of the results. Simple as that. I think I've spoken because I have been the only one speaking, and when you ask me questions, I've been giving you honest answers.
You've been quite vocal in Chadlar Soyuncu's criticism recently. One of not your former players, but one of the club's former players accused you of lacking professionalism with how you've called him out, his performances in training. Now, on balance, he is a player that played well a couple of years ago, got into the Premier League Team of the Year, and again, on balance, didn't play well last season. What has he not done in training? Because you've talked about his performances in training to warrant the criticism and being left out of a team that clearly wants to play or has chosen to play a central defender rather than maybe Soyuncu or a Vestergaard in recent weeks.
Listen, I see the players train every day, and I make the judgment from there.
Do you inspire these players, Brendan? Do you get the best out of them at the moment?
I do my best.
Is this team too good to go down? It's bottom of the table, 5 defeats in a row, 1 point out of 18. Is Championship football a possibility next season?
I haven't even thought about it, to be honest. Still very early in the season.
What kind of atmosphere do you expect at the King Power this weekend? Again, you've mentioned the fans after the Brighton game, and again, they were chanting for Luke Thomas and Danny Ward, but what kind of atmosphere do you expect from the fans? What would you like to see from them this weekend?
I think it's the support to the team, which I think is absolutely critical at this stage, when confidence isn't maybe quite at their highest level. Then they need all the support they can get. They get that here every day with the coaches and the staff and with everyone here, and now it's transferring that into the ground. So, but I also recognise that's up to us. We also have to generate that as well, and hopefully we can do that with a good performance.
Is it a must-win this weekend?
We want to win the game, yeah.
And just finally from me, Wout Faes, is he available? Has he got his visa?
He's available, yeah.
Excellent news, thank you. Go around. There you go.
There we go. Hello, Brendan.
Hiya. Okay.
There was a stat that came out in earlier on in the week showing the amount of points lost from winning positions. Leicester were top of the table, as it were, most points conceded. Can you put your finger on why that might be in the way that Leicester are playing at the moment?
Not really, no. As I said, we've started games well, got into really good positions, and made mistakes in games. So that's something that we hope we can improve on.
Just going back to what Jason was talking about there, the comments that you made, particularly after the Manchester United game, to a certain extent after the Brighton game as well. You know, when you're at press conferences like this is your chance to speak to the fans, isn't it? It's a chance to get your view across. The comments have ruffled a few feathers. I'm sure that's not been lost on you. What were you aiming to achieve? What were you hoping to tell supporters, tell everybody else when you made those comments about the transfer market, when you made those comments about the squad depth?
Listen, firstly, I don't know what feathers have been ruffled or whatever else. It's certainly, there's no intent to do anything of the sort. I'm speaking openly and honestly in terms of when I'm the one that's speaking on behalf of the club, always about the situation. So I've never said anything openly that I haven't said within our football club. I've been transparent in terms of the situation where the club is at, and then obviously Top came out in the programme notes and put the situation across very well. So that is the situation.
Do you have to think quite hard, I suppose, about those kind of public comments? Because, as I say, they surely will have an impact. Are you aiming for them to have an impact on the people above you, on the players who may well read them and see them?
No, I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. I speak openly with the players. Nothing that will ever be said here will ever not have been said to the players. Likewise with the board. So the relationship is open. The communication is open, and I think I've always been balanced in what I've said. You know, we were the only club in the top 5 leagues up until just before the window shut who hadn't signed a player. And I was asked if I was going to be happy with that. And I think if you asked any manager who wants to be competitive, then I'm sure he would have had the same answer.
I suppose the only differences might be, and I appreciate this, is that the line of work that you are in, that if I was to say, make comments about what had happened, about something, the resources that were available to me in my job, let's say, my managers can't necessarily hear it, see it, have it played out in public, if you see what I mean. And I don't know whether you take into account that might have an impact on, say, the way that fans feel about things, about the way that players, the way that the hierarchy at the club might feel about those comments.
But like I said, I repeat, there's nothing said that the players didn't know about or people within the club.
And then finally, you mentioned the visa for Wout Fast. I know you were looking for a specialist coach is coming in, aren't they? Is there an update on their visa as well? I think were they being held up in the past?
With what, sorry?
The specialist coach coming in, set piece coach.
Yes. Lars came in last week, so he's been appointed. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's great news. Thank you.
Pleasure.